quite enough from me. I will pass over now to Joe. So the way we're going to work this tonight is each of our speakers will have about 10 minutes to put their case. We'll then have a little bit of time where we examine. I try and bowl them a few Googlers and things like this on the things that they've said, and then it's over to you for question, answer, debate. So Joe.
Okay. Good evening. When I was preparing for this, I actually wrote a blog post on the Guardian site a couple of days ago to get some perspectives on this. And so, given we haven't got much time, if you want to sort of get into more detail, you can have a look at that blog, which I can say at the end where it is. But I just want to start off with a quote, which was from this week, which was from Prince Charles, who's just become president of the WWF. And I have a lot of respect for him because he is not someone who is prepared to be held in the parameters of power and privilege, but is actually somebody who's prepared to speak his mind. And I think that one of his roles has been extraordinary in terms of actually laying out what are the fundamental issues being faced by our society. And I'll just read you this quote. He said, "History will not judge us by how much economic growth we achieve in the immediate years ahead, nor by how much we expand material consumption, but by the legacy for our grandchildren and their grandchildren. We are consuming what is rightfully theirs by sacrificing long-term progress on the altar of immediate satisfaction. That is hardly responsible behaviour. There is an urgent need for all of us to concentrate our efforts on sustaining, nurturing and protecting the Earth's natural capital, and moreover reshaping our economic system so that nature sits at the very heart of our thinking." And I think I wanted to start off by saying that we have, since the Second World War, created a system of economic growth that is now pretty much coming up to bankruptcy. That the system itself is the problem. That the system itself has actually started to enslave us. That we are actually now just pawns of the system of economic growth. That everything is focused on that fact. And actually, if you look at that economic growth, sort of while there are very many positive things about it, it's created wealth, it's reduced, people live longer, there's a whole number of benefits from the fact that we are a wealthier nation. But actually, as Richard was saying, we are now living beyond the means of this planet. And that is, it's very easy to talk about words. We talk about the loss of biodiversity. We talk about climate change. We talk about water scarcity. We talk about the depletion of ecosystems. And actually, beneath those words is this extraordinary level of grief, actually, at what we are doing to this one planet we live on. We live on this planet. We are completely dependent on the resource of this planet. And we are actually destroying it. We are actually going so far beyond our means that we're in danger, as Prince Charles said, and it's very brave of him to say that we, as a humankind, are facing our own sort of level of extinction, because actually we are destroying the very life that we rely on.
Thanks very much, Joe. We'll probe some of those ideas in a little bit more depth in a few minutes, but Charles, first of all, your 10 minutes starts now.
Well, Richard, thank you very much, and I think we've just had a very fascinating and very sincere and genuine speech from Joe, and I want to come from a very different perspective, I think perhaps a more hopeful, brighter perspective, because I think that we are in a world now where this isn't a choice between sustainability and sustainable development and economic growth, but they are prerequisites. We cannot have economic growth without sustainability, but equally we cannot have the sustainability we want without economic growth. And that we have to start from saying, of course there are things which we need to change, of course there are things we need to do differently. And let's start with eliminating those things which are bad, which are a drain on our society, and which make it more complicated to achieve what we want. So let's eliminate the waste. Let's start to use our resources more effectively. Joe, of course, is right that these are finite resources. They may be hundreds of years off. There's certainly 200 years of gas available out there. We don't know how much oil out there, but certainly some decades. But we need to start planning now for how we take ourselves off hydrocarbons because of the need to decarbonise our society. But it's much more than that. It's not just about those finite resources. It's about the whole way we think about our lives. I find it appalling that a mile or so away from here that there's a suggestion of a land-raised facility, of dumping the waste in a huge 80-foot high mound as close as we are to the South Downs because we don't know what else to do with it. Well, actually, I hope we're going to end up with a situation where that waste will be recycled, it will be reused, and that actually dealing with it in that sort of way will be the final part of the process when we've looked at how we can get energy from it. And so actually eliminating waste is part of sustainability, but it's also part of making us more efficient and enabling us to have a greater rate of economic growth. The same applies to energy efficiency. We waste an incredible amount of energy. We have the least energy efficient homes in the whole of Europe. 60% of our homes are not properly insulated. Even though the payback period for insulating our roofs is only a year, 60% of homes haven't even done that. And so that if we actually started to insulate our homes better and our businesses better, we're going to end up in a situation where we can actually reduce our bills, we can actually facilitate economic growth, and we reduce the pressure on those pressure resources. And we've estimated that businesses would save £23 billion a year if they use resources more efficiently. But it's not just about Upper about Sussex, about the United Kingdom. It's global. And I think that certainly Joe raised this, and it's also the reason why we're here tonight, to raise funds to put a child in Afghanistan through school. And if let's think of that boy or girl in Afghanistan who is probably in an area where they don't go to school in the winter because it's too cold and they can't heat the building, where they can't be at school in dark evenings because they don't have electricity. Maybe in Kabul they may be more fortunate, but in many of the rural parts of Afghanistan, as in parts of Africa and Asia, then those children do not get an education because of the lack of economic progress. Low carbon economy, the bringing of concentrated solar power to hot areas, the use of hydropower in areas with a high water resource, provides local sources of electricity. They're never in those remote villages going to get a power station with a grid connection in 20 years. But we can actually, through the development of the low carbon economy, give that child who you are looking to educate the better chance in life, both in education, both refrigeration for dealing with vaccines, so combating illness, in terms of jobs. Hundreds of thousands of people every single day leave rural areas to go to the cities because they haven't got the power which they need in those rural areas. And what we can do through sustainable development is to bring growth to those areas and to actually support that child who we're trying to look after tonight. So I don't think this is a choice between sustainability and growth, but we can only have one if we have the other.
Thank you very much, Charles. I think